All right. This is the perfect question. So first of all, I started getting into D&D again probably around the same time you guys did. It came from a desire for fantasy and magic, then to Skyrim, and then The Witcher, but I felt limited in the options given to me in video games. I couldn't find a DM to give the choices, problems, and experiences I wanted to make, so I started pursuing DMing myself. Any suggestions at becoming a good DM as fast as possible, because my time DMing had all the exact same pitfalls as the games that I was tired of playing.
Man, I wish I knew. One day I might like to do this. I can't really answer this question. I've enjoyed watching Matt Mercer talk about it. I've enjoyed watching Brennan Lee Mulligan talk about it, but I've never done it, so I don't know how to get good at it.
Oh, really? I feel like I know the answer to this, which is just the answer to anything, which is what are you solving for? Find someone that's good at it and then model.
Sure.
Them. So like if you want to be a good D&D streaming DM, find Brennan and Matt Mercer, watch them, try to model what they do, try to dissect in the same way we do a charisma breakdown, like what makes them so good. Is it their story hooks? Is it their accents? Is it the depth of emotion they create? Is it the time they create for their players? They're both very different in terms of railroading or open world. But then also, you as a DM, maybe what you want is to have the most fun yourself or to create the most fun player experience, which is actually going to be different than if you're trying to solve for your fun, player fun, and stream and entertaining them. Yeah. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's the same, but it could be. So it's worth thinking about. So yeah, I would say just try to find
someone
what you're solving for, and then try to model them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I think Brennan Lee Mulligan is amazing, the best DM to watch, but he railroads in a way that maybe isn't fun to play with, or maybe he's fantastic to play with because he's hilarious and because his story is amazing and his character is amazing. But so yeah, you'd want to know what your goal is, and then just find people that do it well, and then model them. Mm-hmm. That's my advice for getting good at anything.
Sure. I can get behind that.
Yeah, from specifics, I'd say DMing is probably about story, emotional moments of suspense or laughter or mystery or reveal, and then creating characters that are fun to watch and fun to interact with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll start this one just because I haven't. I'm sure that having not DM'd, I'm going to miss a large piece, but we've been working trying to get our stream up, and there's been missing elements. And so that's what I've been trying to figure out. And that's a lot to do with story, emotional stakes, and hooks. So
emotional highs, negative and positive emotional highs.
So I guess one of the things, and this just from a story perspective, there's 100 other things about engaging players, but like if you are to think out where you are, and I think you want to build an instinct so that you can be reactive to the world, but like you want spikes and pits. So a spike, it is, I don't know, you get the thing that you want or whatever. The pit, how do you set up an emotional low? Well, what you need is a character or something in the world that people care about, and then you need to threaten it. Mm-hmm. So like, then the question is, okay, how do you make a character people care about? What I've started doing is like just paying attention as I watch the TV shows that I enjoy and being like, when did I fall in love with this particular character? And so I've actually watched some of Arcane with my dad, and I was like, when did I love Vander? You know, when did I decide that it was going to matter to me? And it's how he is so, he handles, if you haven't seen Arcane, I don't think this is a huge spoiler, Vi gets in a fight. The way he handles it is with loving firmness, and he's proud of her for having won the fight, and you like that. The way that he handles violence in his bar when somebody's ripping someone off is like with calm, powerful control over the situation. And like I could go back and really pull it out, but like you start to care about this guy and you like want things to be good for him. And he's actually one of the ones that I think they actually did the best job with.
My favorite character.
He's the best. Yeah. He's the best. And actually, I'll tell you the scene that got me. So one of the things that they do fantastic, and this is the highs and lows, and you're also dealing with this with power levels. So if you haven't watched Arcane, it's good. These are spoilers for the first 3 episodes. So Vander's in there, and they set him up with this, like, you look weak, you look this. And you've, like, seen him in the first scene, like, he's this big guy. But it's a cartoon world, and you don't know who's, like, the biggest and the strongest. He won't fight. He won't do all these kinds of things. And at one scene, this guy drinks a potion and rips Vander's friend in half while Vander's in handcuffs. Like, just blood everywhere, just destroys him. And then, you know, punches Vander in the head, just drags this mammoth of a man off. Then Vi goes on, you know, and she beats all of these people up, she's like fighting all the henchmen. This guy comes out and fucking destroys her. So like the power levels are being established very fucking clearly. She is broken, crawls her way back. And the best scene, man, Vander finally gets out of the shit, grabs 2 metal things, wraps them around his fist, and the guy swings a fist at him, and he just fucking catches it and then punches him in the gut. And if you rewatch that fight, he is such a badass because of how they set up his opponent to be super strong. And I remember I was watching it the second time. I was like, this is fucking everything. And he gets stabbed in the back is how he loses that fight.
And so as a DM, that is a scene you can paint for your players to establish NPCs.
Mm-hmm. Sorry.
But the difference as a DM is you also want to give your players most of the, you want to make them feel involved. You don't just want to narrate a movie to them. So the question is, how can you paint this, get them to fall in love with an NPC, but also make it fun for them?
Yeah.
Or can you set them up to feel like badasses? And I heard one good line about DMing that I think is useful is the job of a DM is to make the players feel like powerful badasses and like they're on the razor's edge of dying at all times.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to feel weak, but you also don't want to feel like nothing matters. My decisions don't matter. No matter what, I'm going to just cakewalk through this. And so I think a mistake that some DMs make is they raise the power level of combat so that your enemies are always the same level as you. And then one thing we had a DM do that I really enjoyed was you do that. You have to challenge your party. But then at one point, bandits are on the road. We're walking down the road. We see the ambush coming because we pass a perception test. And so what do? We try to set up a counter ambush for the ambush. One spell later, we have killed 5 people brutally that are just weak robbers. Their power level didn't climb with us. And it sets you up in a world where all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, we're not where we used to be 2 months ago. Like these people that would have been a challenge would fuck us up. But then you also present an enemy and you make it clear without spelling it out. If you try to fight this person, you're all going to die. Like you're not actually the biggest, baddest people. And then you don't know where you are in the next encounter.
Yeah. So
is this going to be easy?
Yeah.
Have we picked a fight that we're going to lose? So that's the weird dynamic of the DM is you want the players to feel like they're powerful and becoming more powerful every day and they're badasses doing good in the world. And also like they have to be careful and their decisions matter and have an impact on NPCs and on the world. And also they might die.
Yeah. He did a very good job of that. This is the last to say. I could talk about D&D way too much as I try to figure this out. But what that guy did was he had an open world and truly you could go where you wanted. So we were wandering down the road and, we destroy these guys. Holy cow. Then we wandered into a thing and we're underwater and there's a kraken. And I don't know what that means in D&D parlance, but I was like, oh, well, like, what if we sneak up on it? And apparently this thing, would be absolutely 0% chance that we would do anything other than all die if it detected us. And so he did a really good job when you have these open worlds of creating the constant sense of you don't know where you are. So everything needs to be taken carefully, which was exciting. And then we got the Hydra, which was the perfect sweet spot of like, did we bite off more than we could chew? In any event, that was super fun. I'm going to ramble about D&D now. So,
yeah, I mean, I can keep going, but I don't know how deep we want to go.
There's a second part to the question. Sure. So when is when is your D&D game going to be published?
We're working on it.
We've recorded a couple of episode 1s. I think that
give the update.
Well, the biggest difference we realized between a D&D stream and a D&D game is with a D&D game, the players already have some buy-in. They care about their characters. They care about leveling up and getting stronger. They care about getting loot. So there's inherent interest.
And they'll just follow the DM when the DM's like, there's a gold sword. Players will be like, I want that gold sword.
Exactly.
And they just want to play the game for the RPG mechanic of it.
An audience doesn't automatically care about your player characters.
Yes.
They don't care about leveling up. You have to make them care. And
about
so
the story.
We've
and
shot the first
characters,
episode twice, and especially episode 1, I think you have to really get people bought in instantly to caring, not at a high level about the world in the sense of like the country of the United States, but about the individuals as players or the NPCs that they're meeting. And so we're rewriting and reshooting basically episode 1 as we try to get something that I think is narratively interesting and captivating and fascinating if you're not a player.
Yeah.
And that's something our DM has never done and we've never done. So there's growing pains as we try to iron that out.
Yeah. So it wasn't good enough for an audience.
It wouldn't be interesting if you weren't playing.
Well, it wouldn't. Well, this isn't true, man. It was, and here's the truth. It is as interesting as Critical Role episode 1. Now, like, I watched it. It's slow, but they have an audience that is bought in. And we know that we're the new kids on the block. We can't just tie the biggest. We can't just like, hey, this most recent interview I did was like Joe Rogan hanging out with Bert Kreischer. It's like, yeah, that's not good enough. You know what I mean? You can't do that. He's on its 1100th episode. Everybody knows, likes, and cares about his life. You can't do that with you and your friend.
Well,
so we have to come in a level, like we have to hook, and we know this, like with a big conflict in about less than 10 minutes. You know.
Well, let me try to rephrase it. When you're a player, you already automatically care about your player character. Mm-hmm. With Critical Role, a lot of people already care about Matt Mercer,
Correct.
Marisha, Travis, and so they're willing to go through slow periods that they know are slow, that are just straight up not necessarily the most interesting hour, because they want to get invested in those players and their player characters because they've already built up a bunch of goodwill.
Yeah.
We don't have that. So if we actually did just somehow like memory wipe people and steal the first episode, but play it with different faces using AI deepfake technology, it wouldn't necessarily have the same captivation because the audience isn't bought into us in the same way they're bought into Travis and Marisha and those guys.
Yeah. So we're working on it. We're trying to, it's a complicated thing because I'm player / working on producing, and Justin's been helping us try to get story beats in there quickly and like really trimming the fat versus when you're normally playing D&D. It's like, hey, where do you guys want to go? Like, I want to go to the smithy and talk to, Smithy McSmitherson, the guy with a hammer. You know what I mean? It's like, no, none of that. Like we need an interesting thing to happen very quickly. And then we can open up the world and allow for more freedom.
Yeah, I was going to say, I do think that can happen in episode 3.
Yeah.
I actually do think your third episode can look a lot like Critical Role's first episode, even, in terms of slow or not. But you just need to very quickly establish to someone who hasn't heard of Ben and Charlie and hasn't heard of our player characters
and stakes, and why you care, and what you want to know, and why should I watch the next 10 minutes of this?
Yeah, why I watched this for 60 seconds. Why should I watch the next 60 seconds? I watched it for 10 minutes. Why should I watch it for the full hour?
Yeah.
And at the end...
And once you've established, here's a threat, here's a mystery, here's a thing, here's a character then you can go to the Smithy McSmitherson and have a fun little interaction with him that is ultimately doesn't lead.
Just funny.
Yes, exactly. So that's where we are right now. We're working on it. It's I really hope it does work. So we've got a lot of D&D games as we're testing and trying to learn more about it.
We're also trying to appeal to people who have not played D&D, which I think is the other thing that colors this.
Yeah. Cool. Hope that you guys enjoyed that clip. If you want to see more like this and have us do more podcasts, we are 100% funded by our generous patrons. And if you'd like to contribute, there's a link in the description, and we'll have one pop up on the screen right here so that we can do more podcasts where we have fun conversations and hopefully some deep ones like this. Either way, hope that you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.